Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, the Honorable Chancellors of the Chancery Courts of Davidson County, 20th Judicial District, State of Tennessee, finding it fit and proper to do so, meet in special session outside the courthouse at the request of the President and the Board of Directors of the Nashville Bar Association to entertain resolutions in memory of former members of the Nashville Bar Association recently deceased. All persons present are asked to draw nigh and give attention so the memorial resolutions to be presented may be heard. God save the Honorable Chancery Courts of Davidson County, this state of Tennessee, and these United States. The Honorable Russell Perkins, Chancellor Part 4, presiding. Please be seated.
Welcome and good morning. Thank you for attending this memorial service. These services are the only time all four chancellors sit together as one court. It is a distinct honor for each chancellor to join this company of friends, family, and colleagues to celebrate the lives and careers of the members of the bar we honor and remember today. One of our colleagues, Chancellor Ann Martin, was unable to be here today due to a long-standing commitment to be out of town. Chancellor Martin sends her regrets. Please note that our much-beloved colleague, Judge Richard Dinkins, will be honored in the fall memorial service, which will be on the Thursday before Thanksgiving. When we gather to celebrate the lives and contributions of people we love and admire, these celebrations are punctuated by wonderful stories and tributes, and attended by smiles and tears, and we always find out something about our colleagues that we could not have imagined until we get to this moment. So if you don't mind, we're just going to take a brief moment of silence to honor and salute today's honorees. We'll now hear from Bahar Asdari, President of the Nashville Bar Association. We will now hear from our good friend who is over the Memorial Committee, Mr. Keith Turner.
The memorial resolution for Bill Beck will be presented by Judge Amanda McClendon.
One additional note that I forgot. If someone wants to make your presentation of your resolution from down here on the floor, you're welcome to do so.
Good morning, everyone. May it please the court, the chancellors, other members of the judiciary, our presiding courts of record, Judge Angelita Dalton, members of the bar, and especially welcome to the family of William Carson Beck, or Carson William Beck, also known as by all of us as Bill Beck. It is my honor to be here on behalf of the multitude of people who have been impacted by Carson William Bill Beck. Bill was many things to many people, but without a doubt, he was loved by all who were fortunate enough to meet him. And Bill's love for his family really knew no bounds. Pam, Meredith, you were his motivation to excel and succeed and to provide for. And he was so excited about the fact he would be having a new addition to the family, and Evie has joined us here. Martha, Bill's mom, his daddy, who predeceased him, Tom Cone, his favorite uncle. He loved, adored, and admired you all, and you all gave him the tools as how to excel and succeed and provide for the family that he loves so much. We all know how much Bill loved life. His laughter was infectious. It was not discreetly shared, but instead announced his joy at being where he was and with whom he was with at the moment. Bill had, and many of you don't know, he had had a heart attack when he was 39 years old. I believe that experience caused him to think he should squeeze whatever joy he could out of life, and I believe he did. Because you know, and I think he conveys this message well, if a person looks for negative, they will not be disappointed because you will find negative. But if you look for joy, you can create it, and cannot find it. I believe Cousin Bill did just that. You can create joy, and Bill did. I never heard Bill speak ill of anyone. He made observations about matters, followed by a brief pause of ponderance of the prior statement, followed by a burst of laughter. He wasn't going to let that get him down either. Bill was just remarkable, and he was and is loved by everyone who met him. Every attorney in the Tennessee State Legislature, House, and senators signed the resolution that we are presenting to the chancellors today. They signed it after I emailed them, and they did it within 2 days. Not a one dissent said no, Democrats and Republicans alike. What Democrat would have a Republican governor come to his funeral and order that the state flags be flown at half-mast for 3 days? Only Bill, and I can hear him laughing about it now. Bill was truly a giving man. He helped many people, many we will never learn about, or at least never learn of the specifics. He was discreet. To his family, I thank you for creating this outstanding, fun, and compassionate man, and for sharing your time that he could have spent with you, but allowed him to spend time with us. I know his service to the state, his clients, his constituents, took away time he could have spent with all of you. I want to acknowledge the persons in this family who have become attorneys. Uncle Tom Cone, or Tom Fight Cone, was the first to go through law school. Then Bob Beck made it through law school. Then I was the third. Martha Beck, his mom, went to law school. Law school was where Bill met his wife, Pam Beck. They were in the study group together. Bill then graduated, and our newest to join us is Sarah Cannon, who is practicing in Manhattan. I'm going to try to get her to move back down here because we need her, and I think the city's grown enough to challenge her as much as Manhattan. So many people have helped in drafting this resolution and helping get at the signatures, and I want to thank each of you. Thank you for being here, and I still want to pick up the phone to call Bill about something so we can laugh together, and I suspect that will never change. But thank you all today. Thank you, Chancellor.
The memorial resolution for Sally Button will be presented by Ames Davis.
May it please the court. Our friend Sally Montgomery Baskin Button passed away on September 20th, 2022 at her home in Nashville. She is survived by her husband, John, who they were married for 52 years, and her two children, John Baskin Button and Wilson Sinclair Button, and members of their respective families. Sally was born in Greenville, Mississippi on May 17, 1947, and she grew up there. In 1965, she entered Hollins College in Roanoke, where she served as head of the Honor Council her senior year and graduated Phi Beta Kappa in 1969. During her senior year, Sally met John Button of Nashville at a midwinter's party at the University of the South, and they were married 1 year later. The couple moved to Greenville, Mississippi in 1975. After devoting herself to raising her two boys, in 1983, Sally entered law school at the University of Mississippi in Oxford, where she served as the comments editor for the Mississippi Law Journal. After graduation, she worked for the law firm of Campbell DeLong LLP in Greenville and then practiced criminal law in Lake Village, Arkansas. When the Buttons moved back to Nashville in the mid-90s, Sally became a trust and estates lawyer at our firm, the Nashville law firm of Waller, Lanston, Dorchin Davis, where she practiced for 10 years. Those who knew Sally at Waller remember her as one of the kindest and most patient people we'd ever met, and a very conscientious attorney. She occasionally became involved in litigation at Waller, where she proved a fierce advocate for her clients. After her retirement, Sally and John divided their time between Sewanee and Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you very much.
The memorial resolution for Donald Corlew will be presented by Patsy Cottrell. The memorial resolution for Walter Crouch will be presented by Rob Harris.
May it please the court and everyone in attendance. I'm here to recognize Walter Crouch, who was a wonderful lawyer and an even better person. Walter Crouch was born in Nashville on November 6, 1943, and he passed away on September 14, 2023, after a courageous battle with pulmonary fibrosis. Surviving is his wife of 55 years, Ruth Reeder Crouch, along with 2 nephews, a niece, several grandnephews, and other loved ones. A lifelong resident of Nashville, Walter graduated from West High School in 1962. At age 12, Walter worked delivering newspapers and continued to do so throughout high school. He said he learned more about business from that job than any other. He continued working nights throughout his undergraduate studies and received his degree in political science from Vanderbilt University in 1967. On September 16, 1967, Walter married Ruth Reeder, and together they served in the United States Air Force and were stationed at Kelly Field in San Antonio, Texas. Walter was stationed in intelligence, serving as a systems analyst and personnel officer, which should surprise no one. After his service, Walter enrolled in the University of Tennessee Law School. He graduated in 2.5 years in 1974. He clerked for federal judge L. Clure Morton, and then joined Waller, Lanston, Dorchin Davis, where he practiced law until his retirement in early 2023. At Waller, he helped establish the firm's environmental law practice and later developed and managed the intellectual property practice group. Early in his career, Walter had a lead role in a case in which train cars transporting liquid propane gas derailed in a small Tennessee town. 2 days after the derailment, one of the cars exploded, killing 16 people and injuring over 40 others. It was a big case. Walter, being a Renaissance man, also assisted a company with the development of the first privately designed, funded, built, and flown commercially crewed space launch vehicle. The aircraft had the largest wingspan of any aircraft ever assembled, and its purpose was to provide satellite launch services. Walter was also involved in the corporate relocation of an NFL football team to Nashville. He worked extensively with one of the largest automobile manufacturers to establish and operate their U.S. presence and helped a large U.S. automotive manufacturer establish a subsidiary with a 2,100-acre manufacturing facility in Middle Tennessee. He also worked with a significant healthcare company in Nashville in developing software licensing and other agreements for many of the software applications currently used in the healthcare industry. When he wasn't working on big transactions and litigation, he enjoyed spending time fishing and traveling. He was an avid researcher with a passion for ancestry. Walter also played a wicked game of racquetball. He will be missed.
The memorial resolution for John Dalton III will be presented by Ashley Carter.
May it please the court and other members of the bar. I'm here to present for John W. Dalton, who passed away unexpectedly on May 22, 2023 at home at the age of 57 in Nashville, Tennessee. John was born on August 11, 1965 in Nashville, Tennessee, an original Nashvilleian, as he liked to tell his friends, since that's sort of an oddity now. He grew up on his family farm on Sneed Road, where he lived with his parents. John then attended and graduated from Montgomery Bell Academy and then headed to the University of Virginia. John enjoyed his time at UVA and made lifelong friends during his college years. John returned to Tennessee and later attended law school at the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. John's quick mind, diligence, and the highest standard of ethics made the perfect ingredients for a career in law. And he dedicated his talents to the citizens of the state of Tennessee as a public servant in Nashville. Along the way, John worked as an attorney with the legal offices at TennCare, the Department of Health, and spent most of his career as a senior counsel for the Office of Tennessee Attorney General and reporter. He worked in the class division, as he liked to tell people. He worked under 5 attorney generals and advised state agencies from Memphis to Mountain City on complex employment matters and higher education concerns. He fiercely advocated for each of these clients before the courts in his distinctive baritone. Whether he was arguing motions, conducting trials, or presenting to appellate courts, John was always there to make the case for his clients. Although he was reserved by nature, John was a supportive and thoughtful person who made lifelong friends and touched the lives of countless others. He was always ready to join friends for an after-work or weekend outing, especially if movies, trains, music, or cars were the topic of conversation. He particularly enjoyed collecting antique cars, riding on trains, and attending concerts with his friends. His quick wit and willingness to help his friends were 2 qualities that those who knew him could always expect. John was preceded in death by his parents, but he is survived by his close friends. Although he battled illness for the year before he passed, his sudden passing was still an expected shock. He will be missed by his friends.
The memorial resolution for Macklin Davis Jr. will be presented by Ames Davis.
If it please the court and members of the bar, this is the memorial resolution for Macklin Davis. He was Macklin Paschal Davis, known as Mac. He died peacefully in his sleep at home in Nashville on January 11, 2023. Mac was my first cousin. He was some 2 decades my senior, and he actually helped raise me. Part of the reason I became a lawyer. He was born in 1926, grew up in Nashville, and attended Montgomery Bell Academy before attending VMI and the University of North Carolina, and then graduating from Vanderbilt University and Vanderbilt Law School. In 1950, he joined the Nashville law firm, then known as Armstead, Waller, Davis, and Lanston, where he made partner in 1955. And in 1967, he became a named partner in that firm when it became Waller, Lanston, Dortch, and Davis. Mac practiced at Waller for almost all of his almost 60-year legal career, except for a brief interlude at High School Donaldson, Bierman, Adams, Williams, and Caldwell. Mac was an outstanding trial lawyer, best known and feared as an advocate in domestic relations cases. He participated in numerous significant lawsuits of all types. While a member of the Tennessee State Legislature, he represented the plaintiffs in Kidd versus McCandless, a lawsuit to enforce the constitutional requirement that the legislature be reapportioned every 10 years, according to the number of qualified voters in each county. This case led to the famous decision of the United States Supreme Court in Baker versus Carr, which established the principle of one man, one vote. Mac had a wonderful sense of humor. He loved life. He had a shrewd understanding of human nature. In addition to being an outstanding attorney, he had an amazing range of other talents and interests. He was an outstanding athlete, competing on college varsity, football, basketball, wrestling, and tennis teams at VMI and Vanderbilt. He was a life master at bridge. He tried to teach me bridge unsuccessfully. He was a horseman, riding his own horses in numerous Western and hunter classes, and he hunted foxes for many years with the Hillsborough Hounds. He was a musician, playing both clarinet and saxophone in the Public Offenders. That was a band made up of Nashville lawyers, in the establishment, a 21-piece band performing big band jazz and dance music. And in the Joan Hager Band, you all may have heard that. Joan was his spouse in his last years. She was a wonderful pianist, and they had a band, and he played in that well into his 80s. He aged well, as I say. He won tennis tournaments into his 70s. He was my tennis partner on many occasions, and on occasion we won, and if we didn't, it was my fault. So, thank you.
The memorial resolution for William Earthman will be presented by Matthew Lonergan.
May it please the court, fellow colleagues, family, members. William Wilkinson Earthman III, Bill, was my best friend for roughly 40 years. We practiced law together, we played golf together, we went to church together, we took trips together, and he was a wonderful person. But he was known far and wide, not just in the legal community, but across a broad spectrum of friends and family. He was a loving husband to his wife, Sandra, a devoted father to Will and Kira, and his youngest grandchild, Virginia, and a devoted brother to Webb and Dan, all of whom regularly sought Bill's advice on important family issues and all things financial. Bill graduated from Montgomery Bell Academy in 1970, where he was captain of the golf team his senior year. He went to Williams College, where he played golf his freshman year. To the consternation of all senior athletes at Williams College, Bill was named the Scholar Athlete his senior year, despite not having played golf since his freshman year. But that would be Bill. Following graduation, Bill went to the University of Virginia Law School and graduated in 1977. Bill returned to Nashville and started his legal career at Dearborn and Ewing, where his practice focused on the representation of banks and other lenders in complex commercial lending transactions. But Bill was much more than a bank lawyer. He was a trusted business advisor and a financial guru, consulting clients on the nuances of finance and their deals, and wanting to make sure that not only were the documents correct and the deal done, but did his clients understand what they were really doing in the transaction? And did they understand how it impacted the people involved in the deal? Bill joined Bradley Arent Bolt Cummings in January of 2009 and integrated his practice among his new colleagues. As Bill reshaped his practice, he grew into a mentoring role, not just for young bank lawyers, but all lawyers. Bill would share his wisdom and an inquisitive mind in questioning lawyers about their work and, more importantly, their life and what they wanted out of life. Bill also had the habit of entering a lawyer's office, plopping himself down in a chair, interrupting their work, frequently at inopportune times, and began asking numerous questions about topics involving their families and their work before being shooed out the door. Bill's curiosity was second to none. He was a role model for how to engage in meaningful conversations. Bill focused on what made people tick, what they were doing, what they were interested in, what drove them, and what they were planning to do in the future. Bill might talk briefly about himself and what he was up to, but his true desire was to get to know the person he was talking to. His intellect was second to none, his wit exceedingly charming, and his cackling laugh could be heard throughout the air. Bill was a tireless communicator, often seen at the driving range at Belmead Country Club, frequently interrupting their practice and talking. He loved golf and good golf stories. He could laugh at himself and endeared himself to his friends by giving them plenty of material to work with. Bill also enjoyed the Titans games and frequently went with his friends to tailgate and visit with family before the games, regularly leaving in the third period to miss traffic. Bill was able to walk away from his law practice several years ago, returning to the office occasionally to disrupt the busy lawyers and sometimes go to lunch. Bill was able to do the things he wanted to do in his life with the people he wanted to be with in the places he wanted to be. I remember when he walked in my office about 5 years ago and said he wasn't going to hang around and it was time to get on with life because who knows what might happen when he was in his 70s. Bill died with his wife while on vacation in Naples, Florida in January at the age of 71. He knew something was coming. So he lived fully, traveling with his family and friends, enjoying good bourbon and fine wines, taking numerous golf trips, and above all else, Bill left an endearing impression on his family, his fellow lawyers, his good friends, and most anyone who had the privilege of coming in contact with Bill. Bill is severely missed by his family and friends and colleagues. Thank you.
The memorial resolution for Donald Corlew will be presented by Patsy Cottrell.
Good morning. Donald Lanny Corlew was born November 18, 1938, and passed away on May 24, 2023, surrounded by his family. Don was a Nashville native. He graduated from Hillsborough High School, class of '57, and Vanderbilt University, where he was a member of Kappa Sigma fraternity. After Vanderbilt, he served as lieutenant in the U.S. Army at Fort Hood, Texas, where he met his wife, Tommy Jean, or T, as he always called her, and we all knew her. He received his law degree from YMCA Knight Law School, now National School of Law, in 1967. Don worked for the DuPont Company in Wilmington, Delaware, and the Metropolitan Nashville Legal Department before beginning his career as a Deputy Attorney General in the Tennessee Attorney General's Office, where he served for almost 30 years. He led the division that represented the Department of Transportation, managing the heavy trial caseload and supervising younger attorneys. He not only supervised them, but also mentored them along the way. Don had many friends in the office and was known for his cordiality and his quiet humor. During the years of working downtown, Don also enjoyed playing handball at the downtown YMCA, where he formed another circle of longtime friends. Don's true passion was the outdoors. He was fortunate enough to live next door to Radnor Lake State Natural Area for almost 50 years. He took pride in his beautiful vegetable garden and enjoyed daily hikes at Radnor. Don felt most at home in the mountains. Sharing his sense of adventure over the years, he took his family to Colorado for skiing, hiking, camping, jeeping, and other thrill-seeking activities. In recent years, his dream come true was enjoying beautiful views of the mountains from the deck of the home in Ridgway, Colorado, where he and T lived part-time. He loved nothing more than experiencing nature with his grandchildren, whether it was camping in Colorado, riding bikes out in the country at Leapers Fort, or ziplining over the creek from the treehouse he built for them in the backyard. He was always the ringleader. Don was also a leader in the community. He was one of the first presidents of Friends of Radnor Lake, served on the boards of Shalom Health and Nashville Young Life, and was involved for many years with the Monday lunch at Downtown Presbyterian Church here. Don was an elder at Belmont Church, where he mentored younger men and hosted activities for the youth group, college group, and others. In recent years, he attended St. Bartholomew's Episcopal Church. Therefore, be it resolved by the Nashville Bar Association that we honor the life and work of Donald Lanny Corlew and mourn in his passing the loss of a caring spirit and a person who sought justice for all. Thank you.
The memorial resolution for Mary Arlene Evans will be presented by Charlie Newall.
May it please the court, I move that the memorial resolution for Mary Arlene Evans be entered into the Chancery Court docket for Davidson County at Nashville, Tennessee. Mary Evans grew up in Chicago and ended up marrying a man named Randy Scruggs, and he had ties to the music industry here in Nashville. So as a new bride, Mary moved to Nashville and did music, and the first time I met Mary was she was a legal secretary for a lawyer in our office, John Nolan. Back then, I don't know why the big firms had short names, but the guys that I practiced with, they just put it all on the letterhead, and it was Lester, Loser, Hildebrand, Mondelli, Nolan, Underhill, Lane, Porter, Dewar, and Newald the baby. And I'm the only one left now, so other than Mr. Underhill, he's in Florida. But Mary went to the Nashville School of Law while she worked for John Nolan, and upon passing the bar exam, the guys would normally meet in John Nolan's office and Don Hildebrandt's, and then they would parlay and see who was going to be the next person to fill space in the building. And I remember Judge Lester said, "We've never had a woman lawyer before." And Mary was such a diligent worker. She joined the firm and always wanted to do domestic relations, but John Nolan had her and me do medical malpractice cases, but she always wanted to do domestic, and that's later in life, that's where she contributed, I think, her most to the National Bar Association and to her clients practicing family law from 1986 to 2022. She left behind two children, Drs. Jesse Scruggs and Jamie Scruggs, and sang at the Christ Church Cathedral just a couple blocks over on 8th Avenue. She'll be missed by the Bar Association, and I was honored to practice law with her for all those years.
The memorial resolution for Trey Everett will be presented by Carl Ward.
May it please the court, members of the audience. James Robert Everett III died on May 8, 2023 in Nashville at the age of 53, too early. He was born in Nashville, Tennessee to parents James Robert Everett Jr. and Elizabeth Dunning Everett. His father preceded him in death, and he is survived by his mother and two sons, James Michael Everett and Joseph Bradshaw Everett. Trey graduated from Montgomery Bell Academy, Auburn University, and the Nashville School of Law. He practiced for several years. In fact, I had the honor of practicing with him at Jackson Queller, McKinney, Warden, Lewis, and Hayes, another long term. Trey was charming and witty. He enjoyed the outdoors, and he was one of my fishing buddies. In fact, Trey had the distinction while fishing with me at Marrowbone Lake of catching a goose while intending to catch a fish. Now, therefore be it resolved that we honor the life, work, and legacy of our dear brother, friend, and colleague, James Robert Everett III. Thank you.
The memorial resolution for Charles Fentress will be presented by It pleases the court, ladies and gentlemen, Charles William Fentress, known by all who knew and admired him as Charlie, died on September 18, 2023. He is survived by his wife of 65 years, Juanita Maxey Fentress, his daughters Karen N. Fentress and Elizabeth Fentress Hallmark, son-in-law Brian K. Hallmark, grandchildren Allison A. Hallmark and Charles McClure Hallmark, a sister-in-law, and a number of nieces and nephews. Charles was born July 23, 1930 in Goodlettsville, Tennessee, and graduated from Goodlettsville High School in 1948. He attended Vanderbilt University, graduating in 1952 with the Bachelor of Arts degree. He taught school for 2 years at Isaac Litton Junior High School, teaching courses in science and serving as an assistant coach in football, basketball, and track. After teaching for 2 years, he joined the Kane Sloan Company, their executive training program, and it was there where he met his beloved wife, Juanita Maxey. They married in 1958. In 1969, he was promoted to Personnel Director at Kane Sloan and subsequently to the position of Vice President of Personnel. While at Kane Sloan, he continued his education at the Nashville School of Law, from which he graduated and was admitted to the Tennessee Bar in 1969. In 1975, he ran successfully for the Nashville Metropolitan Council, the 34th District. He served in the Metropolitan Council until 1999, a total of 24 years. And he distinguished himself as one of the true leaders in the metropolitan government. In 1991, he joined the National Federation of Independent Business as the state director and retired from that position in 1998. And let me say that Charles was also the lobbyist for the NFIB during those years. And for those of us who have worked in the General Assembly, we can attest that on various days up there, you look for a friendly face, and Charles was that friendly face. He was friendly to a lot of folks and a friend to a lot of lobbyists and a very good representative of his business. Charles was active in other community and civic affairs throughout his life, holding membership in the Tennessee Bar Association, the Alumni Association of Leadership Nashville, and the Vanderbilt Alumni Association. He was a member and past president of the Nashville Boosters, the board of Junior Achievement, the board of the Children's Museum, the board of visitors of Franklin Road Academy, the Nashville Exchange Club, the Nashville Chamber of Commerce, the board of Nashville Memorial Hospital, and served as a charter member of the board for the Philanthropic Memorial Foundation of Tennessee. Faith, family, and friends were integral to all Charles did in life. Saturday mornings were often spent with the coffee club, bantering about the political scene. He led a men's Bible study at Woodmont Christian Church for 35 years and served as an elder at Woodmont Christian Church, Covenant Presbyterian Church, and Stevens Valley Church, the church he was attending at his death. May it please the court, let us resolve that we honor the life, work, and legacy of our dear friend, colleague, and indeed a community servant, Charles William Fentress. The memorial resolution for Lee Griffith will be presented by Frank Grace.
May it please the court. James Lee Griffith was born in Mississippi on September 25, 1951, and passed away in Nashville on October 29th of last year. He was survived by his family to whom he was devoted and who he loved dearly. His wife Catherine, his mother Marguerite, his children Callie and Jim, daughter-in-law Ann, and 2 grandchildren, Tyler and Leo Griffith. Lee grew up in Mississippi, but when it came time for college, he enrolled at the University of Virginia, where he graduated magna cum laude in 1973. He subsequently received his JD from Vanderbilt Law School in 1976 and an LLM in taxation from New York University. Lee joined Waller Lance and Dorchton Davis in 1981 and was licensed to practice law in Tennessee, New York City, Washington, D.C. He is also a licensed CPA in Tennessee and Mississippi. Always a serious lawyer, Lee was never too serious about himself or in his relationships with others. His was an engaging, friendly nature marked by frequent warm smiles, and humorous asides. Then there were his hats. Lee was always professionally attired in suit and tie, but he never went out without something on his head. Most of the time, these coverings appeared to be some form of worn-out ancient cowboy hat that had been run over by a bus. One year, Lee's photograph in the NBA directory showed him wearing a hat, although this was a more tasteful Panama-style hat. This small eccentricity aside, Lee's career was marked by a serious focus on complex legal issues of taxation, finance, and business structure. He helped clients grow their businesses from startups to multi-billion-dollar corporations. Transaction-oriented businesses, healthcare companies, private equity firms, limited liability companies, and partnerships relied on his counsel. Colleagues and clients regularly turned to him for his deep knowledge of tax at a state, national, and global level, as well as the intersection of nonprofit tax law and healthcare regulatory law. Lee was involved in groundbreaking legal work, including being the principal author of the Tennessee LLC Act and subsequent related legislation. He also led the efforts in creating a life insurance annuity combination that was recognized by the rating agencies as a new security and asset class. He tried to explain that to me once, and to no avail. One of approximately 675 fellows of the American College of Tax Counsel, Lee was a sought-after seminar leader and a prolific author. He always had an article on his drafting board for regularly scheduled publications in a variety of professional journals. Lee could move comfortably in the same sentence between some intricately complex tax speak and a blunt colloquialism or two. One always had to admire his intellect, but his kindness and gentleness is what will always be remembered the most. And of course, his hats.
The memorial resolution for Irene Regina Hogg will be presented by John Bennett.
May it please the court, friends and colleagues, Irene Hayuti earthly journey ended on November 28th, where she died very suddenly and unexpectedly at age 59. She was a passionate advocate. She listened to concerns and used her knowledge and experience to actively guide people through difficult circumstances. Many of these clients became her lifelong friends. Throughout the year, Irene would visit shut-ins, and right after her death, I had several calls. When's Irene coming to see me? I have her Pyrex dish. And I told the lady, this year the Pyrex dish is yours. It's her last Christmas present to you. There was another lady who had problems with her feet. Irene would take her favorite pair of tennis shoes every other year or so. And she was the same way with her friends. She always remembered the small things for her friends. She was a dedicated mother who cherished and loved her 3 children, Timothy, Caroline, and Stephen, and a dedicated grandmother. Irene was born in New York City and grew up in Cologne, Germany. She loved to travel. She was well-traveled, had been to most countries and most of the United States. She received her law degree from Case Western Reserve and started in Tennessee in 1986, and Tennessee became home. She worked with the Quillen Law Office until Dale passed in 2016, where she joined our firm. Irene was a bright and shining light in every environment, and it's my good pleasure to commend her at this memorial service. Thank you.
The memorial resolution for Oscar Hofstadter III will be presented by Charlie High.
Good morning. May it please the court. Oscar Bernard Hofstadter III died on December 7th, 2023 at the age of 82. Oscar was born in Nashville to Oscar Bernard Jr., and Virginia Literer Hofstetter, who preceded him in death, along with his first wife, Kay Anderson. He is survived by his wife, Mary Ellen Keith Hofstetter, brothers Robert, Jim, and Chris, stepdaughter Deborah McCarthy, 3 granddaughters, Gracie, Gertie, and Jenica, and many nieces and nephews. Oscar was a lifelong Nashvilleian. He attended Holy Name and Christ the King schools and graduated from Nashville's Father Ryan High School in 1959. From there, he went to Vanderbilt University, where he received his bachelor's degree in geology in 1963. In 1968, he earned a master's degree in geology from the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. After working in Detroit, Michigan, Oscar returned to Nashville, where he attended the National School of Law. He graduated from the law school in 1978 and passed the bar that year. Oscar then clerked for Davidson County Probate Court Judge Shelton Luton for 2 years before entering the private practice of law. He joined the family law firm Hofstetter, where he practiced for 25 years with his father and brothers Jim and Chris. All told, he was a lawyer for 45 years. Oscar enjoyed the intricacies of the law and was an expert at researching complex legal issues. In his most noted case, he and his brother Jim represented the plaintiff in Nicholstone Bookbindery versus Chelsea House Publisher. That became a principal case in Tennessee and nationally on the issues of minimum context necessary for personal jurisdiction and the operation of state long-arm statutes. If you don't know what that is, I don't either, but he and his brother prevailed only after taking the case to the Tennessee Supreme Court, and the Chelsea House Publishers appealed to the United States Supreme Court, which denied certiorari in a 6-3 decision. Nicholstone is recognized as a case of the year in 1981 by the annual review seminar. It has been cited 83 times and cited by 4 United Federal Circuit Courts and 4 state Supreme Courts. Oscar was a member of the Nashville and Tennessee Bar Associations. He contributed to pro bono representation, was recognized on several occasions for his pro bono work. When he was not practicing law, Oscar was a ham radio enthusiast, an excellent chess player, and an avid long-distance runner. He was passionate about genealogy, Nebraska football, and soccer. Oscar was a member of the Sons of the American Revolution, the Sons of Confederate Veterans, the National Striders, and the Collectors of Moon and Stars Pattern Glass Society. He was a devout member of East Brentwood Presbyterian Church, where his knowledge of classical history often added context to Sunday school discussions. Oscar will be remembered for his keen intellect, impish sense of humor, kindness, and charitable nature. He delighted in the odd joke and the unexpected historical twist. He was not afraid to be different and, in fact, delighted in it. He marched to his own drummer and cared not for the well-worn path. Oscar loved to learn and always brought a fresh and unique perspective to the subject at hand, whether it was law, history, politics, or religion. He followed his own way to the end. When he received his diagnosis of cancer, Oscar chose the treatment option that allowed him to eat his favorite foods. Fittingly, his funeral included a sit-down dinner of fried chicken, greens, macaroni and cheese, and banana pudding. And I can tell you that it was all delicious.
The memorial resolution for Judge Richard McCauley will be presented by Tom White.
May it please the court, members of the bar, Judge McCauley passed away at home on May 21, 2023 after a well-fought battle with multiple cancers. Rick was born August 4th of 1942 in Jackson, Mississippi. He joined the Navy in 1960 and served until 1962, stationed in Memphis. He graduated from the University of Memphis with a BS in 1965 and a Juris Doctor in 1968. In addition, he received a Master's of Public Administration from the University of Tennessee in 1975 and attended the FBI National Law Institute in 1986. He was admitted to the state bars of Tennessee and Florida, as well as the U.S. Supreme Court. Judge McCulley began his career as an assistant prosecutor in Nashville, Tennessee, and continued as a prosecutor in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for a total of 17 years. In 1984, he became a partner in the law firm of Gunther and Whitaker in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where he served representing various police agencies for 10 years. In 1994, he was appointed as a U.S. Administrative Law Judge for the Northern District of Georgia, where he served for 23 years until his retirement in 2017. Judge McCulley was active in its Phi Alpha Delta PAD law fraternity for 30 years, serving in a number of executive positions. In 1998, he was inducted into the Distinguished Service Chapter of PAD in recognition of all significant contributions to PAD over the years. He was also a longtime active member and supportive of Sigma Alpha Epsilon. I've been told by one of my colleagues at Yarborough that a little humor would be appropriate, so I'll add, Rick McCulley was affectionately known as the Hawk for his avid commitment to law enforcement. Rick was also known as a person of very few words and rarely ever got excited. One night of humor, very early one morning, I received a call from Rick, and he was extremely excited. He asked, "Is your law partner, John Toon, still the chairman of the airport authority?" He explained that he had picked up someone at the airport, and in a hurry to depart, he had rolled over the foot of one of the security personnel. All ended well, but the then district attorney, Tom Shriver, my law partner, John Toon, and others made sure the right and appropriate apologies were made by Rick. The Hawk sailed on. Therefore, be it resolved by the Nashville Bar Association that we honor the life and work of Judge Richard P. McCulley and mourn in his passing the loss of a keen mind, dedicated and caring spirit. Be it further resolved that this memorial resolution be placed in the permanent records of the association and entered into the in memoriam minute book of the Chancery Court of Davidson County, Tennessee, and that copies thereof be furnished to the members of his family. Thank you for your courtesies.
The memorial resolution for Seth Norman will be presented by Seth Norman.
May it please the court, my grandfather, Honorable Seth Walker Norman, passed on September 25th, 2023. I could spend hours talking about his upbringing, his education, his time spent on the Tennessee legislature, his Air Force career, his National Guard career, his efforts in local and national politics, as well as many other notable accomplishments in his life. But I was told to keep this to around 2 minutes, so I will focus on the two things that were most important to him. First, his friends and family. He loved his children, his grandchildren, and absolutely adored his great-grandchildren. While he kept a busy schedule, he could always find time for his friends and family. While he did not enjoy phone calls, once telling me that the practice of law must have been a much better experience prior to the endeavors of Alexander Graham Bell, he always was happy to answer, so long as you kept it brief. He was someone who you could count on for a candid answer, a father figure to many, and a mentor to many. He was excellent at recognizing the abilities of others and pushing them to achieve beyond their comfort zone. His high expectations and gruff Southern drawl will be forever remembered by his friends and family. His other passion was helping at DC-4 and the drug and recovery courts throughout the state. Upon taking the bench in 1990, he saw the importance of addressing the growing substance abuse problem and recognized the urgent need for treating addiction as opposed to simply incarcerating people. Taking action, he established the Davidson County Drug Court, better known as DC-4. It was the first court-operated residential drug court and became a model for many drug courts throughout Tennessee and the nation. He was pleased to show that his intensive program at DC-4 was effective in addressing addiction and reducing recidivism while also remaining cheaper than incarceration. It was an understatement to say that Judge Norman was a hard worker. It was well known amongst friends and family that you could be found on the weekends and the holidays at DC-4. It was also well known how deeply devoted he was to the program and helping others in need bring the change they wanted to see in their lives into possible. His legacy will live on in the individuals, families, and communities that were ever and forever improved by his refusal to accept a system that was focused more on punishment than rehabilitation, and his understanding that for many, relapse was part of recovery. In 2018, after 28 years on the bench, Judge Norman retired from Davidson County Criminal Court judgeship, but remained active in both existing recovery court programs and expanding access to recovery courts throughout the state. While he received numerous awards and achievements, he was humble, not one to brag or boast. He was content to simply being involved in others' lives without the need for personal recognition. While brevity was always his preference, being concise on such an accomplished individual is exceedingly difficult. While his life was filled with many notable accomplishments, he would have settled for simply saying, "It was a life well lived."
The memorial resolution for Robert Orr Jr. will be presented by Charlie Trost.
May it please the court, fellow members of the bar, family members, and friends, I will present the memorial resolution for my brother-in-law, Robert Orr Jr. Robert Orr Jr., known as Rob, died peacefully at a live hospice in Nashville on May 8, 2023, at the age of 78. He was preceded in death by his parents, his beloved wife of 48 years, Susan Buck Orr, and his older sister, Gardner Orr Smith. He was survived by his sisters, Annie Orr Trost, Alice R. Orr, Ruth Orr Napier, and brothers-in-law David H. Smith, Charles A. Trost, and Robert H. Napier. He is also survived by nieces and nephews, David H. Smith Jr., Mary Gardner Smith Whitfield, Charlotte Smith Hunter, Caroline Trost, Henry Trost, Edith Trost Kirkland, Robert H. Napier Jr., Charlotte Napier Gilbride, and Elizabeth Buck Hall and their families. Rob was the son of the late Edith Bruder Orr and Robert Orr III of Nashville, where he was also a member of the Nashville Bar. Rob graduated from Palmer School and Montgomery Bell Academy, where he excelled in track. He ran the 100-yard dash so fast that his teammates gave him the nickname Wilma after the Olympic star Wilma Rudolph. In 1966, Rob received his BA degree from Washington Lee University, where he was a member of Sigma Chi fraternity. After graduating from college, Rob served his country as a member of the Peace Corps, working to provide safe water and sanitary services to the people of Amapá, Brazil. During his time in Brazil, he became fluent in Portuguese and traveled extensively throughout the country. While in Brazil, he received his draft notice and returned home to join the U.S. Army. He served from 1968 to 1970, 1 year of which was in combat in Vietnam with the Big Red 1 Division in the Fire Direction Center of a 155mm artillery battalion. Upon receiving his honorable discharge from the Army, Rob worked as a professional photographer in New York City before returning to Nashville and graduating from Vanderbilt Law School in 1976. Rob became a successful trial lawyer and practiced for 35 years with the Nashville law firm of Levine, Orr, and Jericote. After retiring in 2011, Rob became an active member of the Thorium Alliance and a passionate advocate for the use of molten salt reactors for energy production. Rob enjoyed working on his classic wooden boat, riding his vintage Triumph motorcycle, helping restore the old steam locomotive in Centennial Park, raising a succession of Highland West Terriers, and entertaining his friends by singing and playing his guitar, sometimes under the name of his alter ego, Norbert Orn, and the Lugnuts. Rob was dearly loved by his wife, Susan, whose passing in 2021 he mourned deeply, and by his sisters, his brothers-in-law, his nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews, and his many dear friends who miss his smile, his wit, and his endearing and charming manner. Therefore, be it resolved by the Nashville Bar Association that we honor the life and work of Robert Orr Jr. and mourn in his passing the loss of a keen mind, a caring spirit, and a lifelong student of law who sought justice for all and represented the highest aspirations of the law. Be it further resolved that this memorial resolution be placed in the permanent records of the association and entered in the memorial minute book of the Chancery Court of Davidson County, Tennessee, and that copies thereof be furnished to members of his family. Thank you.
The memorial resolution for Jeffrey Parrish will be presented by James Weaver.
May it please the court. Honored guests, members of the bar, and frankly, a disturbing number of my law partners. I'm honored to present this memorial resolution for my fellow West Tennessean law school classmate, law partner, and friend of almost 40 years, Jeff Parrish. Jeffrey D. Parrish died peacefully at his beloved home in Scotts Hill, Tennessee on February 18th, 2024, after a short but gallant battle with cancer. Aside from his high-profile professional career and his deep faith, Jeff celebrated a wide breadth of personal interest, including travel and music, great food, the occasional martini, just one, Charlie, and boating. He cherished quiet time on his screened-in porch at his ancestral West Tennessee home. He cared deeply for his children and his extended family and friends, and will long be remembered for his keen intellect, sharp wit, helpfulness, generosity, determination, and a long and distinguished history of public service. After graduating valedictorian from Scotts Hill High School, Jeff obtained both his undergraduate and JD from the University of Memphis. Upon graduation from law school, Jeff joined the Broad and Huggins, later Broad and Kramer firm in Memphis. Jeff worked there practicing corporate and healthcare law and business litigation until he was asked to become the general counsel for a large Tennessee-based healthcare company. During his 15-year tenure as general counsel, he embarked on a multi-year-long effort to secure passage of healthcare tort reform by the Tennessee General Assembly. Jeff was a tireless advocate for our state's important healthcare industry throughout his entire career. Jeff eventually returned to the private practice of law in Nashville for the Waller Lanston firm, practicing healthcare law and government relations. After his friend Marsha Blackburn's election to the United States Senate, Jeff left the private practice to serve Senator Blackburn as her state counsel and state field director, a position he held at the time of his untimely death earlier this year. Jeff, a gregarious, multi-generational Tennessean, was the perfect and natural fit for the role of facilitating the never-ending conversation between the senator and her constituents across Tennessee. No matter the venue, the halls of power in Nashville or in Washington, the corporate boardroom, or the aisles of his beloved Piggly Wiggly in Scotts Hill, Jeff never met a stranger and treated everyone he encountered with respect and a genuine interest in the other person. He lived a full and good life. He was a good man. He was also my favorite Republican. And despite the fact that I beat him fairly badly in our 1987 election for student bar president, he was my friend. We honor today the life and work of Jeffrey Parrish and mourn his passing. Thank you.
The memorial resolution for William Porter Jr.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure and honor to be here to talk about my friend Bill Porter. Bill was born November 10th, 1940. He was born to Martha and Slim Porter. He was a graduate of Hillsborough High School, Vanderbilt University, and the YMCA Law School. Bill passed away on November 6, 2022. He left 3 children, 10 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren, as well as scores of friends and colleagues. Bill and I crossed paths in 1994 when I walked through the doors of the Norman Law Offices. As you know or might know, many well-known characters out of the Norman Law Offices, judges and lawyers. Of course, the Normans, Herb Rich, as well as all the Robinsons. But to me, none like Bill Porter. I had the privilege of working with Bill for over 25 years. It didn't take long for me to learn that Bill was a huge repository of valuable information. He had an insatiable appetite for knowledge. He never stopped learning his entire life. He was extremely methodical in breaking down fact patterns, sifting out relevant from minutia. He possessed the God-given ability to retain this information, which seemed like forever. Folks that knew Bill longer than me said Bill Porter was as sharp at 81 as he was 31. To borrow a line from the great legal scholar, the great philosopher David Byrne, lead singer of the Talking Heads. Bill Porter was the same as he ever was. Bill was not only a repository, he was a library for all those around him to use. Many times over the course of 25 years, myself as well as the other lawyers in the office would find ourselves in Bill's office, bouncing something off Bill, getting Bill's take, doing what lawyers do on whatever the topic of the day was. He was, without exception, always willing to help. The only thing equal to Bill's insatiable appetite for knowledge and his God-given uncanny ability to retain that knowledge was his complete and absolute willingness to share the knowledge. The most important thing I learned from Bill never really came out of Bill's mouth. That is, when it comes to helping lawyers, it's not so much a choice. Whether it is a lawyer in the office, out of the office, or even across the table from you, it's an obligation. And the obligation is based on the help that I've received from people like Bill Porter. Well, anybody that knew Bill Porter knew his legal knowledge wasn't even the tip of the iceberg. He was an owner-operator of the Yellow Cab Company. Long before there was X or Twitter or any social media or even your smartphone or the invention of the internet, there was a resource you could call to get otherwise unattainable information. If you want to go to a sporting event, maybe you want to go to a concert. Maybe you want a cocktail in the era of the Blue Law Sundays. Maybe you want a card game for stakes. Bill Porter was your guy. He ran and operated the Yellow Cab Company. Bill was an innovator. Back in the 60s and 70s, things were changing. The Vietnam War was winding up, and norms changed. And there was a fad that came through, and it swept the country. Bill Porter owned the first place to get a waterbed in Nashville, Tennessee. Other norms were changing. Today, we see vape stores and we see CBD stores on every block in Nashville. Bill Porter had the predecessor to that called Sgt. Pepper's, all the way back 1970. He was one of a kind. Bill was a lover of all sports. He was an avid golfer. He built clubs for years and had a loyal following. He coached AAU championship basketball teams and sent numerous people to the pros. He was a builder, really a maker and collector of knives. He was a collector of guns. He had a magnificent collection of guns. I represented Bill in a divorce one time. John, can I pay you? No, you can't pay me. Divorce was final. He said, come out to the house. I went out to the house. He said, come with me. I walked with him. We went into a room, and it was his gun room. He says, pick out something. Well, of course, I picked out the Czechoslovakian AK-47 with 2 banana clips and enough ammunition to start a war. I think it hurt him a little bit. But on the way out, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Good call." Bill was an accomplished guitarist. He was a collector of guitars. He had a lot of collections. But one of his favorite things towards the end of his life was a standing gig on Fridays with his buddies. He was a traveler, and sure, he went to all the usual travel destinations, but so much more. And with his recall, he could give you in-depth information about the flowers on Victoria Island, or he could talk to you in depth about the gaming tables in Monte Carlo. He had a standing gig with buddies to go to Costa Rica every year. He was a sailor. One of the last things we did together was sail. He had sailed the Caribbean. Bill had fond memories of flying his plane for long weekends down to the Bahamas. I think you can tell that Bill Porter's interests were varied, to say the least. He was active, he was full of life, he was on the search for knowledge until the very last day. Bill accomplished more in his life and packed more in than most folks ever dream of. In true Bill Porter fashion, he passed away at night between midnight and 6. Rumor has it, and I have it on good authority, it's the only way he could work it into his schedule. Therefore, be it resolved by the Nashville Bar Association that we honor the life, work, and most importantly, the friendship of Bill Porter. Be it further resolved that this memorial resolution be placed in the permanent records of the association, entered into the in memoriam minute book of the Chancery Court of Davidson County, and that copies be furnished to Bill's family. This the 23rd day of May, 2024. Most respectfully, John B.
The memorial resolution for John Rowe Jr. will be presented by Lillian Rowe Gilmer.
May it please the court, members of the bar, and all guests here today. I am honored to stand here today to present the memorial resolution for my father, John Howard Rowe Jr., who died on February the 6th, 2024, after a brief battle with pancreatic cancer. My father was born on December the 29th, 1946, in Springfield, Tennessee. He moved to Clarksville, Tennessee for the majority of his childhood. He was determined to succeed in his studies from a young age, and he decided in the 8th grade that he wanted to become a lawyer. After graduating near the top of his class from Clarksville High School in 1965, John pursued his undergraduate studies at Davidson College, where he graduated Phi Beta Kappa in 1969. After graduating from Davidson, John attended Vanderbilt Law School, graduating first in his class as Founders Medalist in 1972. In addition to mastering his academic career, John devoted himself to activities in his formative years that would shape his personality, form his life passions, and serve him well in his 50-year legal career. As a junior high school student, he became involved with the Boy Scouts of America, rising to the rank of Eagle Scout. John spent his summers at Camp Boxwell, where he served as a counselor to young Boy Scouts from all over the state of Tennessee, and he developed a love of the outdoors at this camp. One of his favorite activities at camp was sailing, and he cultivated a passion for sailing at camp that would become an integral part of his life for more than 60 years. He purchased a boat in 1982, which he kept at Percy Priest Lake, captaining his family and friends on many adventures until just months before his passing. Serving as a leader and captain suited John well, and as a senior at Clarksville High School, he served as president of his student body. My father began his legal career in Atlanta, Georgia, and then moved to Nashville in 1974 to be closer to his hometown of Clarksville, Tennessee. In 1981, he and his colleague and friend Tom Sherrard, together with James Thomas O'Hare, founded the law offices of O'Hare, Sherrard, and Rowe, which is now Sherrard, Rowe, Voigt, and Harbison. My father's leadership skills and commitment to academic excellence helped establish a firm dedicated to providing the highest quality of work to its clients, a positive work culture for its members and staff. My father was known for his civility, his strong work ethic, his razor-sharp memory, and his problem-solving abilities, all of which engendered the respect and appreciation of his clients, partners, and staff. He consistently provided his clients with not only the best legal advice, but offered a holistic approach to their business needs and goals. Over the course of his legal career, John developed an expertise in real estate and tax law, co-authoring the Tennessee Condominium Act of 2008. But more importantly, he developed lifelong relationships and friendships with his clients and colleagues that he valued deeply. He was surrounded by many of those clients and partners at the very end of his life. John remained committed to his roots throughout his life, and he used his leadership and legal skills to assist with the causes that he espoused. He contributed to the preservation and development of Clarksville over the years, purchasing the historic structure in which his high school was housed, saving it from demolition, and restoring it into an apartment building. He also helped found the Wade Bourne Nature Center at Rotary Park in Clarksville, a park and nature center that promotes the conservation and nature education, named in honor of his high school classmate and friend, Wade Bourne. He remained involved in the Nashville chapter of the Boy Scouts until his passing and continued to return to Camp Boxwell on a regular basis, together with the lifelong friends he established as a young boy. He spent many years involved with Habitat for Humanity of Greater Nashville, serving as board chair in 2005. In 1995, my father purchased a home in Monteagle, Tennessee, a place where he loved to spend time hiking, swimming, and sitting on the deck, enjoying the outdoors with family and friends. Inspired by his appreciation for nature, John drew upon his legal expertise to lead a group of homeowners to establish a conservation easement over hundreds of acres of land in Monteagle, preserving the natural landscape and protecting the land from clear-cutting. In his free time, John was an avid sailor and outdoorsman. He enjoyed backpacking, canoeing, and fishing trips with his family and friends. A lifelong student of history and adventure, he enjoyed traveling to places all over the world. My father's loyalty and commitment to the people in his life and the causes in which he believed and the work in which he engaged left an indelible mark on the communities in which he lived. He strived for excellence in all areas of his life, and the contributions that he made to the world around him will be appreciated by all who knew him. His family, his law partners, and his community will miss him.
The memorial resolution for Richard Sebastian will be presented by Wendy Longmire.
May it please the court, it is my earnest desire that the court recognize that I am not Wendy Longmire. My name is Jerry Wigger. Richard Warren Sebastian passed away unexpectedly on February 9th, 2024, at the age of 59. Richard was a devoted husband, father, brother, law partner, and was known in the Ortel Kelly law firm as the King, where he served as managing partner of the firm for nearly 20 years. He is survived by his loving wife, Lynn, and the light of his life, daughter Maria. Richard had a natural instinct when it came to real estate transactions, negotiating buy-sell agreements, and running the business at Ortel Kelly. Applying that innate talent for his clients' benefit was a real gift that he relished. Richard had a passion for cars, working on them, acquiring them, and even racing them. In his early days, he participated in hundreds of drag races. Sorry. He owned a full-service auto repair shop and custom car business, which allowed him to spend time with his friends and tinker in this fashion and nurture a rare collection of automobiles. He was a cut-to-the-chase kind of man who could quickly instill a problem into a manageable solution. It always amazed me to know that Richard Sebastian was running our law firm, and on Wednesdays, he was at an auto shop, getting his hands dirty and being with the people that he loved. A fellow lawyer and friend of the firm, Phil Newman, put it well when he wrote in a blog titled, "Farewell to the Wolf." Phil wrote, "The Wolf has been my nickname for Richard for many years, based upon the character in Pulp Fiction. In real life, to me anyway, Richard was the Wolf." Richard was a managing partner at Ortel Kelly for almost 20 years, succeeding Bill Ortel at a relatively young age. Running a law firm is no easy task, particularly since there are so many attorneys who have great egos. I'm looking at them now, and strong opinions on almost everything. Richard was in that position for nearly 2 decades, which is very, very rare. Always quiet behind the scenes, Richard got things done. He just did. Inside Ortel Kelly and in the Nashville legal community. If you needed something, you called Richard. Always discreet, always able to keep a secret. Richard always knew a guy, just the guy you needed to talk to if you had a problem. If you had a procedural or legal question in a complicated piece of litigation, Richard was your guy. If you needed a transmission pulled from your car and a new one installed, Richard was your guy. If you had a complicated real estate transaction with multiple players that needed to be closed, Richard was your guy. If you needed a real estate attorney to volunteer efforts for your charity, for Habitat for Humanity, Richard was the guy. Richard left behind his loving wife of 34 years, Lynn Sebastian, and his daughter, Maria. He also is survived by his dear sister and brother-in-law, Carol and Lynn Gooden, and his brother, Robert Sebastian. Family was always first. And fortunately, the folks at Ortel Kelly, he considered us family as well. Richard was loyal to his friends, inside and outside of Ortel Kelly, and he was always willing to help you and yours, no questions asked. He was everyone's consigliere. But sadly, the king has left the building. Therefore, be it resolved by the Nashville Bar Association that in the life and record of Richard Warren Sebastian as a member of the Nashville Bar, that we, his family, his friends, and the city of Nashville have been honored and blessed, and in his passing, we have sustained an egregious personal loss. Let this memorial resolution be placed in the permanent records of the association and be entered into the memorial minute book in the Chancery Court of Davidson County, and that copies here be furnished to the Sebastian family. Thank you.
The memorial resolution for Nathan Shelby will be presented by Jordan Gibson.
May it please the court. I'm here to talk to you about my friend Nathan Evan Shelby, who passed away on September 6th, 2023, at the age of 43. He was born on October 5th, 1979, to parents Dennis and Hope Shelby. He is survived by his wife Ashley and their 3 beautiful children, Miller, Walker, and Ellie Brooke. I've read this like 10 times today. Okay. A Tennessee native, Nathan bled orange and white. He grew up in West Tennessee and received his undergraduate degree from the University of Tennessee. He began his career as a history teacher and a coach before attending law school at the University of Memphis, where he graduated magna cum laude. In law school, Nathan interned for Magistrate Judge Diane K. Vescovo in the Western District of Tennessee and Tennessee Court of Appeals Judge W. Frank Crawford. For the last 16 years, he shared his brilliant mind and competitive spirit through his law practice at Rainey Kaiser Revere and Bell. Nathan enjoyed a successful career as a litigator in courtrooms across the state. He began his practice in Jackson and moved to Nashville to start the office across the street in 2016. Nathan was active in many professional organizations, contributing to the Tennessee Bar Association as a leader in the Young Lawyers Division and holding the title of President-elect of the Tennessee Defense Lawyers Association when he passed away. A talented lawyer, Nathan's proudest accomplishments happened while coaching his children in baseball, football, and basketball. Nathan was a devoted father who started every conversation with anyone who would listen with a story about his kids. He cherished the time that they spent together on the field or court. Nathan was a lifelong student of history and also found solace in the wonders of nature. Nathan was a friend to all who were blessed to cross his path. He was uniquely able to relate to anyone, never meeting a stranger. He connected with adversaries and allies alike. He was loyal and deeply kind, always ready to offer help or a joke to brighten someone's day. It was fun to practice law with Nathan. He is profoundly missed by his colleagues, friends, and family, and he was taken from this life too soon. But memories of the joy he provoked in all of us and his legacy of kindness and compassion will endure for generations to come. Thank you.
The memorial resolution for Randy Smith will be presented by Wes Turner.
May it please the court, members of the bar, it's my privilege today to honor the memory of James Randolph Smith. Randy grew up in Memphis, attending Memphis City Schools and graduating from Messick High School. Randy came to Nashville to attend Belmont College, now university, where he met his future wife and life partner, Betty Gabhart, daughter of the college president, at freshman orientation. Randy and Betty were elected Mr. Belmont and Miss Belmont, and Randy served as student government president. Randy was a lifelong avid Belmont supporter, serving 2 terms on the Board of Trustees and was elected trustee emeritus. Indeed, Randy's work and support over his adult life accompanied the ascendancy of Belmont to the institution it is today. After graduation from Vanderbilt Law School, Randy embarked on 47 years as a private practice lawyer in Nashville. Randy developed a specialty in entertainment law, representing recording artists, music producers, and others in every aspect of the field. Randy was a major influence from the beginnings of the Christian music industry. Randy was a respected practitioner, but beyond this, he was a wise counselor to clients, colleagues, and friends. Randy was a trustee and dedicated fundraiser for the Ensworth School and was a leader in the Sister Cities relationship between Hendersonville, Tennessee and Tsuro, Japan. But the overarching theme for Randy was family. Randy loved and enjoyed his family, and they loved him. Whether hiking, fishing, extended vacations, or just time together, Randy invested his time and attention with his family, and it paid big dividends. In a marriage of 52 years, sons Will and Matt, daughter-in-laws Conchetta and Amanda, and 5 grandchildren. As a point of personal privilege, it was a fortuitous day when Randy suggested to me that his law son Will should work at our law firm for a summer. I took the suggestion, and Will has been my colleague and now law partner for 12 years. Undergirding every part of Randy's life was his abiding faith in God. He used his considerable musical talents as a singer and choral director during his Belmont days and at a number of churches, including Belmont Heights Baptist Church, Woodmont Baptist Church, Bluegrass Baptist Church, where he was minister of music, and First Baptist Church, Nashville. He was a dedicated lay leader and for many years worked in single adult ministry, leading a large Bible study and mentoring many young adults. Randy passed from this life on February 9th, 2023, secure in the promise of eternal life in Jesus Christ. Randy led an exemplary life worthy of emulation. Thank you.
The Davidson County Chancery Court is pleased to accept and approve the resolutions offered by these distinguished members of the Nashville Bar. They will be spread on the in memoriam minute book of the Clerk and Master's Office here in Davidson County. Before Maria Salas stands, I wanted to remind everybody that immediately after this service, there will be a reception in the fellowship hall downstairs. Much thanks to the presenters. Much thanks for the admiration and the love that you could hear in their voices. It is a very moving experience to be here today, and I'm thankful to have shared this moment with all of you. Ms. Salas.
This memorial service of the Nashville Bar Association is now adjourned. Thank you.